After defeating the alien that killed her entire crew, Ripley and her cat enter a cryogenic pod and drift through space while in deep sleep. Eventually, a salvage ship comes across Ripley's spacecraft, thinking it's an abandoned shuttle. They cut their way inside, but when they find Ripley alive, their salvage mission changes. Later, Ripley wakes up in a medical bay aboard a space station orbiting Earth. A nurse checks on her, and then she's visited by Burke, a representative from the company she works for. Burke gives Ripley her cat back and tells her she's been in hypersleep for 57 years because her ship drifted in space until the salvage team found it by chance. Suddenly, the cat hisses, triggering Ripley's PTSD, causing her to have a violent reaction. As the staff tries to calm her down, she asks them to end her life, and she lifts her shirt to reveal something dangerous inside her stomach. At that moment, Ripley wakes up, realizing it was just a nightmare. The nurse offers her something to help her sleep, but Ripley refuses. A short while later, Ripley is questioned by the company's board about what happened to her crew. She explains the battle with the alien, but they don't believe her, claiming she's mentally unstable. They revoke her flight license and put her under psychiatric watch. Ripley then asks why they haven't sent anyone to the planet where her crew encountered the alien to get proof. She's shocked to learn that the planet, now named ELV-426, has been colonized for 30 years by terraformers who are making the environment suitable for human life. Days later, Ripley is released and moves into an apartment. Burke and Lieutenant Gorman from the Colonial Marines visit her, telling her they've lost contact with the colony on ELV-426 and suspect the aliens are involved. They plan to send a group of Marines to investigate and want Ripley to come along as an advisor because of her experience. They promise to reinstate her as a warrant officer if she agrees. Ripley refuses, still traumatized and angry at the company's treatment of her. That night, Ripley has another terrifying nightmare and realizes that she must face her fears to put an end to them. She calls Burke and agrees to join the mission after he assures her that their goal is to destroy the aliens, not study them. Ripley and Burke board a warship called the Sulaco and meet the Colonial Marines, led by Gorman. The Marines wake up from hypersleep, and Ripley quickly notices that they don't take the alien threat seriously. During lunch, the soldiers play a knife game, but when Bishop, the ship's android, accidentally cuts his finger and bleeds white, Ripley panics. She realizes he's an android, and her past experience with an android that betrayed her to study the alien makes her distrustful. Bishop tries to calm her down, explaining that the newer models like him are programmed not to harm humans, but Ripley still dismisses him angrily. During a briefing, Ripley tells the Marines about her past encounter with the alien to prepare them, but they don't take her warnings seriously. Determined to prove her worth, Ripley offers to help load the drop ship and demonstrates her skills by using a large power loader, a mechanical suit that enhances strength. After equipping themselves with heavy weapons, the Marines board the drop ship and fly toward the colony. Oddly, they notice no signs of activity even though the colony's power is still on and the buildings appear undamaged. Once they land, the squad enters the colony by forcing the doors open and begins searching with motion trackers. The colony seems deserted, but they find signs of a fierce battle: barricades, small arms fire, and acid burns on the floor, evidence of the aliens' presence since they bleed acid. The Marines declare the area clear, but Ripley remains doubtful. Soon after, Gorman, Burke, and Ripley also enter the colony. In the medical lab, they're alarmed to find several stasis pods containing aliens that lash out at them when they get too close. Bishop discovers files showing a failed attempt to remove an alien from a victim before it could implant its embryo, resulting in the subject's death. Suddenly, the motion tracker detects movement. The soldiers cautiously approach the source, but something darts through the shadows, and they waste several bullets trying to hit it. The group is shocked when they discover a young girl named Newt. She's scared of them and runs away when the soldiers try to approach her. Ripley follows her into a trash chute, gently hugging and speaking to her until Newt agrees to come with her. After returning to the ship, Newt still refuses to speak. Ripley patiently waits and eventually gains her trust. Newt reveals that everyone else is dead and believes the Marines won't be able to stop the aliens. Meanwhile, Bishop studies the aliens and finds them fascinating. Hudson tracks the colonists through homing devices embedded in their skin. He locates them all together in the processing station beneath the main cooling towers on Sublevel 3. The soldiers head there using the APC, but soon notice radio interference as they descend. On Sublevel 2, they see hive-like structures that were likely made by the aliens. Ripley warns that they are near the colony's reactor and their weapons could trigger a nuclear explosion. Gorman orders them to abandon their ammunition and keep only flamethrowers, but Vasquez and Drake secretly hold onto their smart guns. Upon reaching Sublevel 3, the Marines discover the colonists cocooned and serving as hosts for alien parasites. They carefully navigate the area and find a woman who is still alive, begging for help. Suddenly, she convulses and a small alien bursts from her chest. The Marines quickly kill it with a flamethrower, but the noise alerts the warrior aliens hiding in the walls. The Marines' motion trackers pick up movement, but they can't see the aliens until the creatures attack, capturing a soldier. A misfire from a flamethrower ignites another Marine, who falls off the platform, starting a fire. Before the others can escape, an ammunition explosion causes more chaos. As the Marines try to figure out where the attacks are coming from, Vasquez and Drake begin firing randomly, making it difficult to hear Gorman's commands over the radio. The aliens begin picking off the Marines one by one, and Gorman becomes paralyzed with indecision. Ripley, frustrated by his inaction, takes control of the APC, driving it through the colony and crashing into the nest to rescue the 4 surviving Marines. As they flee, an alien follows them. Vasquez kills it, but its acid blood splashes onto Drake, killing him. Another alien tries to breach the vehicle, but the Marines manage to shut the doors. Hicks kills it with a shotgun, but the acid burns Hudson's arm. As Ripley drives the APC away, it catches fire, knocking Gorman unconscious. An alien lands on top of the vehicle and breaks the glass to attack Ripley, but she stops the AP APC, causing the alien to fall off before running over it to kill it. Ripley crashes through the front gate to escape, but in doing so, she damages the A.P.C. transaxle, causing the vehicle to break down after a few miles. Afterward, the group debates their next move, and Ripley suggests nuking the entire colony. Burke objects, claiming that they need to protect the company's assets and that no one has the right to wipe out an entire species. The soldiers side with Ripley, and since this is now a military operation, Corporal Hicks is in charge. He approves Ripley's plan. They exit the APC and shoot a flare for the dropship pilots, who prepare for the rescue. However, as the dropship takes off, they notice slime on the ramp. An alien had snuck on board, killing the pilot and causing the ship to crash in a fiery explosion. The team hides as debris from the dropship destroys the APC, taking most of their weapons with it. Stranded, the team decides to hide inside the colony. They call for a rescue, but the help will take 17 days to arrive. Checking their remaining weapons, they devise a plan. They study the colony map and seal off all access points the aliens could use to enter the main complex. Sentry guns are placed at key locations, and Hicks gives Ripley a wrist tracker. Ripley then puts Newt to bed, but the girl remains too scared to sleep. Ripley decides to put a tracker on her wrist to feel safer. Meanwhile, Bishop discovers that the alien's acidic blood loses its potency once exposed to air. The group discusses the alien colony and concludes that there must be a queen controlling them. There are still 2 dead aliens in the lab, and Ripley tells Bishop to destroy them, but he reveals that Burke ordered him to keep them alive. Furious, Ripley confronts Burke, accusing him of wanting to smuggle the aliens to Earth for profit. Ripley also reveals that she checked the colony's records and found out Burke sent the colonists to the alien ship after hearing her story, making him responsible for their deaths. Burke tries to defend himself, claiming it was just a mistake, but Ripley angrily pushes him against the wall, vowing to expose him when they return to Earth. Suddenly, they notice emergency venting happening across the colony, meaning the cooling units have failed and the core will explode in 4 hours. Damage from the crash has made it impossible to shut down the reactor remotely, so someone must go to the tower and manually pilot the second drop ship. Bishop volunteers, as he's the only one with the necessary skills. While Bishop crawls through a narrow conduit to reach the tower, Hicks teaches Ripley how to use advanced weapons, and Hudson and Vasquez patrol the perimeter. Gorman regains consciousness and tries to apologize for his earlier failure, but Ripley ignores him. She checks on Newt, who is asleep under the bed, and decides to rest beside her. Meanwhile, Bishop successfully reaches the tower and begins preparing the drop ship. Suddenly, Ripley wakes up to find that the lab pods are open and the sample aliens have escaped. She also notices her rifle is missing. Out of nowhere, an alien appears and tries to attack Ripley and Newt. They manage to get away, and Ripley throws the bed onto the alien. They try to open the doors, but they're locked, and no one can hear them scream since the room is soundproof. Ripley tries to signal through the security camera, but Burke turns off the monitor while the others are distracted by Bishop's updates. When breaking the glass doesn't work, Ripley uses her lighter to set off the fire alarm, which finally alerts the soldiers. They rush to the lab just as an alien pounces on Ripley. She struggles to push it away, and while one alien attacks her, the other goes after Newt. The soldiers break the glass and shoot at the aliens. Hudson kills the alien near Newt, and after a fierce struggle, Vasquez finishes off the other one. After the attack, Ripley exposes Burke's plan to the crew, revealing that he intended to impregnate her and Newt with the aliens, kill the other Marines, and return to Earth with the alien specimens hidden inside their bodies. Burke denies everything, but the crew believes Ripley. As they debate what to do with Burke, the power goes out. Vasquez and Hudson check the perimeter and see movement all around. The crew gathers in the operations room and seals the door, but the tracker shows the aliens getting closer. When they check the ceiling, they find out the aliens are crawling through the ducts above. The aliens break into the room, and a brutal battle begins. In the chaos, Burke tries to escape by locking the door behind him, but an alien finds another way in and kills him. Hudson fights valiantly, killing several aliens, but he's overwhelmed and dragged away by the creatures. The rest of the crew manages to open the door and escape into the corridor, with the aliens hot on their heels. Newt finds a way into the air ducts, so the team decides to escape through them, with Newt leading the way. Bishop contacts them and says the ship will be ready in 16 minutes. Vasquez is at the back of the line and fights off the aliens using every weapon she has. When she shoots one with her handgun, its acid blood burns her leg. Gorman rushes to help, but they get surrounded by aliens. They use their last grenade to blow everyone up, sacrificing themselves. Meanwhile, the others are escaping through a ventilation shaft. The explosion makes Newt slip and fall into the sewer below. Ripley and Hicks use her wrist tracker to find her and try to cut open the grate above. Sadly, an alien attacks Newt before they can get to her. By the time they open the grate, she's gone. Ripley and Hicks rush to the elevator, but another alien attacks them. Hicks kills it, but is injured by its acid. Ripley helps him walk, and they manage to leave the building, where Bishop picks them up in the drop ship. However, Ripley refuses to leave without Newt. She knows Newt is alive, because the aliens need humans to reproduce. Grabbing weapons, Ripley heads back to the building. Bishop warns her that she only has 19 minutes before it explodes. She takes the elevator to sublevel 3 and moves through the halls with her flamethrower ready. Ripley is heartbroken when she finds the wrist tracker on the ground. Just then, Newt screams as she spots an alien being born. Ripley follows the noise, shoots the alien, and then kills a bigger one that comes out. She rescues Newt from the cocoon, and they start running, avoiding the explosions. They make a wrong turn and end up in a chamber filled with eggs, and the alien queen. The queen signals her warriors to retreat when Ripley threatens to destroy the eggs with her flamethrower. Ripley and Newt try to back out slowly, but when an egg hatches, Ripley burns it down with the flamethrower. The queen gets furious and calls the warriors again. Ripley then uses bullets and grenades to destroy the eggs, the warriors, and the queen's egg sac. After the chaos, Ripley and Newt run to the the elevator. An alien tries to attack them, but Ripley kills it before the elevator takes them up. They reach the platform with 2 minutes left, but the drop ship isn't there. Suddenly, the other elevator arrives, and the Queen steps out. Ripley is out of ammo. Thankfully, Bishop shows up with the drop ship, and they quickly get inside. They fly away just before the building explodes. Back on the Sulaco, Hicks is sedated for his injuries, and Ripley thanks Bishop for his help. Suddenly, the Queen stabs Bishop from behind, having sneaked onto the ship earlier. The Queen breaks Bishop in half and moves toward Ripley, and Newt. Ripley distracts the Queen while Newt hides under the floor. Ripley hides behind a door, but the Queen starts ripping up the floor to get to Newt. Ripley then reappears in a power loader suit and begins fighting the Queen. She punches the alien and tries to push her into the ship's airlock, but the Queen grabs onto the loader, dragging Ripley with her. Ripley escapes the suit and climbs a ladder, but the Queen grabs her leg. Ripley opens the outer lock door, causing everything to be sucked into space. The Queen tries to hold on to Ripley's foot, but Ripley's shoe slips off, and the Queen is blown out into space. Newt nearly gets sucked out too, but Bishop, still functioning, grabs onto the floor and saves her just in time. Ripley manages to pull herself up and close the airlock, saving everyone. Now safe, the crew prepares to go into hypersleep as the ship heads back to Earth. Subscribe for popcorn. We are racing towards 500 subscribers.